Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Jay Encarnacion, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are thrilled to have Brian Shea, the founder of Lucrum Partners. Brian brings a deep expertise in sales strategy, change management, and organizational transformation with a career spanning thought leadership publications and industry recognition like the Premier Sales Employer Award in 2022. Based in Leesburg, Virginia, Lucrum Partners, founded in 2022, is revolutionizing how go-to-market teams execute through hands-on sales coaching, talent strategies, and formal methodologies. We'll be exploring his founding story, how his business empowers clients in the B2B sales space, and his vision for scaling this results-driven venture. So with that being said, let's dive right in. Brian, welcome to Founders Future.
Jay, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, an absolute honor and a pleasure to have you on the show today, Brian. So really would love to start at the top for our listeners here. If you can take us back to the beginning and talk about what specific problem in the B2B sales landscape really inspired you to start Lucrum Partners.
Yeah, thank you. Haven't been part of organizations where I was on founding teams that scaled organizations. I came into organizations that were established and we scaled. One of the things that I took away was this learning of the need to have the foundation built. You need the foundation to build a house. That seems overly obvious. And following the exit of a firm that I had helped move through an event with their investors, I said, it's time. It's time to go back with the years of learning that I've had, and let me see if I can go and help other CEOs in helping them be more competitive in this ever-changing marketplace known as B2B. So that's where Lucrum Partners came from. We were focused initially on how can we help CEOs see through all the noise and all the chaos that's going on in today's marketplace and get them to ground on the right stuff that allows them to scale.
Love it. I absolutely love that. So with that, definitely want to really dive deep with you on Lucrum
You know,
Partners, especially for our listeners who, once this episode airs, could very well come and work with you and your services there. So walk us through how you're really generating revenue today with Lucrum Partners as far as the core offer, who is your ideal client, and how is your core offer structured for your clients there?
Yeah, thanks, Jay. I think that I may say some things today that will offend some people. Please leave them in. We don't believe in sales training.
Okay.
There's going to be a long pause. And here's why. It's too often that the quick go-to is if we can just get sales training for our team, they can be more effective, whether that's for sellers or their AEs or their BDRs. If we could just get that, put them in a classroom for a couple of hours, they'll come back and we'll change the performance of the organization. And what we found was this, Jay, we're often called because organizations have a revenue problem. Revenue is stalled, pipelines are stalling, they're missing sales forecasting, they can't generate enough at the top of the funnel, right? All the typical signals. And we start with the organization is to really get and understand the why behind it. We often find that the organizations are operating on a go-to-market strategy that's dated. And so some of the signals we see are sales and marketing fighting, right? Or sales and product fighting. When we look at the industry strategy, the product strategy, before we get to an account and a sales strategy, we see a lot of daylight between them. So we get the leadership team around and we start asking questions around why, right? Why, what are the causes of these gaps that are causing the Hatfield and McCoys to battle? And what's interesting about it, the reason why I say we tend not to lead ever with sales training is we start all the way back with the foundation of the strategy. And is the go-to-market strategy right? Do we have the right talent strategy to support the go-to-market strategy? Do we have the right? So we go and analyze the building blocks that all have to be in place long before you go invest in sales training. So when I say that we don't recommend sales training, we do. It's downstream, but what's more important is with all of the chaos that's happened during COVID, post-COVID, and now with the acceleration of these buyers' journeys, I think your born on date, if it's any more than 24, 30 months old, it's probably expired and it needs to be reviewed. So there's a bit of a longer answer to your question, but there's more systemic issues that are under the surface of organizations that are causing these signals that they see with pipeline deficiency or lower close rates and et cetera.
Love it. I love it. So with that, there really sounds like you have a good grasp. You have that sales process design, being able to do the go-to-market strategy with your clients, and then that hands-on execution coaching that you do with them to really get them there. So with that, how are you thinking about the idea of scaling Lucrum Partners? Where's your mind at there with these offers and the productization around that? How are you approaching the idea of scaling these types of offers?
Yeah, so we drink our own Kool-Aid a bit, and that is we help clients establish their unique value proposition in the sea of sameness, where our clients' customers are looking at many providers that all look the same, sound the same, or price the same. We operate the following differently. Part of our conversation with prospects is yes, all the things that I've just said, but we anchor ourselves in being a great translator for our clients. And we're a translator of all of the modern research that's out there. It's Gartner, it's Forrester, it's SBI Growth, it's Corporate Visions. We subscribe to nearly all of them. We digest them and we help translate all of this, what seems to be forever changing or consistently changing insights that come out of the research. And how do you action that, right? How do you take that and infuse it in your go to market? How do you take that and infuse it in your talent strategy and the such? So, our little bit of differentiation is we focus on being a good translator of research. The second piece that we also anchor to is all of our engagements we enter into is we are laser focused on buyer decision making science. We believe that the thing that separates the successful from those that may invest in a lot of upskilling, if you'd call it, is if you don't understand the value drivers that are causing buyers to say yes or no, then all of the other stuff that you design may be off pitch. And just a quick example of that is Corporate Visions, through their buyer decision science capabilities, they show that 53% of closed loss deals were winnable, not based on what Corporate Vision said, but what the buyer said. Meaning the buyer said you had it all except for this one thing. And so, what's critically important to our clients is let's get to the stuff that moves the needle and being able to have line of sight to their clients of why did they say yes at the initial pursuit, and then why are they saying yes for upsells and renewals, all a key part of what we do to deliver for our clients.
I absolutely love that. So on that front, with what you're bringing to the table and clearly looking extensively into what's working best for yourself and your clients, walk us through your acquisition side of things. What's working best for you on that front? What channels are most effective? And do you have a lever that you can pull right now, Brian, to have that predictable lead flow coming in for you guys?
So yes, and we're heading toward our third year now in business officially under Lucrum Partners. Every one of our clients that we brought on in 3 years, Jay, have come in through referrals.
Okay.
We do invest a lot of time on LinkedIn with thought leadership and our blog strategy and such, and trying to bring a lot of this research forward to have a voice in the market. So yeah, please follow us, Lucrum Partners, on LinkedIn. But the handle pulling part of it is we're trying to extend our give back at Lucrum Partners. So some of the programs that we do them here in Northern Virginia through different county economic development groups we host. We have workshops and lunch and learns and such to give back to the entrepreneurial community because we believe over time, if we can help all the boats rise, right, we just become better as an enterprise. And if they need help down the road, we're happy to. But our lead generation today has been around maniacally serving our current clients, certainly asking them for references and referrals, keeping a very loud, that some people would say, a voice in the social market, and then doing what we can locally to give back.
Okay. I love it. So with that, seeing the success there, obviously there's still that predictability side. So with the scale and continuing to grow, is that the next step for you, is implementing some more of the ad side, more on the social media, more on that presence to have that predictable lead generation system internally?
Yeah, so social's noisy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of voices out there. And so we won't downshift, but we do believe that much like in we'll go back to the reference before of drinking our own Kool-Aid.
Exactly.
We believe that connections and relationships matter. So we do a lot of face-to-face events and engagements here in the Northern Virginia, DC marketplace. And in our market, just a little, I guess, shout out for Northern Virginia. We're not a government market anymore. We have lots of great entrepreneurs, especially in the cyberspace, that are all coming and launching businesses here in the Northern Virginia, DC, and Maryland area. And the tech councils and the like are very vibrant. We've got a fabulous community that we can help. We're also partners with the what used to be called the Institute for Excellence in Sales. They're now the Institute for Effectiveness in Sales or Sales Effectiveness. So we partner with them as well to help them with their events, thought leadership. We bring research. We host events with some of the leaders in the training and thought leadership space. We've done some of those events locally. So we stay busy.
I love it. I absolutely love that. So, on that front, as far as the sales process itself goes, Brian, are you running the show on your own here, or do you have a sales team, marketing team behind you that's really helping push this forward? What does that sales process look like from the outside?
Yeah, we have a team. Primarily, I am the face of the organization when it comes to meeting with new clients. We're big enough that we need more than me, but I never want to be big enough where I can't be engaged specifically with clients. Because again, I started Lucrum Partners to engage directly with CEOs and executive teams. And so long as I can continue to do that, then we're probably at the right size scale of an organization. But no, I get involved in every new customer opportunity that comes in.
Incredible. On that front, then, talk to us about it because it does slight one around that predictable lead generation. You're doing so much in person, but to really have that inbound side and maybe more around the sales, bringing on a setter or a closer to continue to build that out. Walk us through what you're thinking about on the bottleneck side and how you're looking to break through those.
Yeah, so I had a passion project earlier this year, Jay. I've always had the belief, and it goes back to earlier in my career, that execution wins the day. That companies can out execute even organizations that outspend them, outman them, whatever it is, right? You can out execute. So we started a project earlier this year, and it was around the thematic of how David-sized companies could be Goliaths in 2025. And it started as a conversation with a peer of mine. And we said, there's probably a there. And what we wound up doing is we wound up scheduling all these different subject matter experts, from organizational design to psychological experts to product leaders to data structure folks to all these different leaders that I sent out an email saying, is anybody interested in participating? And it got all these hands raised. And what we did is we put together an ebook of their insights, and their insights based around three different anchoring principles that we just had a conversation around for 25 minutes. And so this ebook, I gave back to all of them and said, use this in your conversations with your customers and your prospects. And all of a sudden, we've started generating really interesting conversation with smaller organizations that are saying, wait a minute, are you saying that I can get on the field and be more competitive against larger competitors? And myself and everybody else that participated in the project were like, yeah, let's show you how. And so there's this great team-based excitement with all these different subject matter experts that were part of the project that are now having a different conversation with David-sized companies.
Incredible. On that front, paint us the picture then, clear as day, that you're taking Lucrum Partners to that next level. The
Mhm.
passion, the drive that you have, Ryan, is exuding through the conversation. So, what does that look like in your mind for the rest of 2025, going into 2026? If you have any revenue targets, performance goals, impact goals, what are you laser focused on for the rest of the year for that continued growth?
Yeah, so we believe our continued growth is this. We make a case that every organization, regardless of how big you are, how long you've been working in your current operating model, there's a transformation that needs to happen. Everybody has seen the Geico commercial that where the aunt comes in and she's looking through the refrigerator and she's yelling, expired, expired. We play on that a little bit with clients, which is if your talent strategy it hasn't been refreshed in the last 12 months, it's expired, right? If your playbooks haven't been designed and your hiring profiles and the like. So we're in a as crazy as the marketplace is, we're having discussions around transformation. And it's transformation that gets us so excited because now, if we don't have the expertise under our roof, We are humble and open enough to say, but we know somebody that's going to be able to help. And we have a really great network of experts that we can bring in, whether it's change management or it's finance or things that are outside of the core that we do. So when we go into an engagement with a new customer, we really go in with an army, really an army of capability and an excitement to help them work through this transformation. And it's that conversation up front that says there's things that will have to change before we get better, i.e., the transformation. And if they're ready for the ride, we are excited and highly capable of executing. So back to the growth strategy, we're going to continue to double down on helping clients through their transformation, whether they were whether they were in a particular industry moving to another, whether they change from an indirect to a direct sales model, whatever that thing is, to be able to bring the executive team along and educate them on all of the components, all the foundational components that have to be addressed for them to execute on that growth strategy. What we're finding, Jay, is our industry is of sales performance consultants. We can learn by pumping the brakes and teaching executives about all the things that have to happen for us to be able to make the effective change and to drive growth. They want to learn, and too often we sort of speed by them and go, here's that training program, or here's that new technology. They are absolutely excited to listen and learn about what's happened to their business out on the street and under the surface post-COVID, all buyers getting three-quarters of the way through a buying journey. They're like, why? Like, how is that happening? They're absolutely interested to understand the why, and spending time with them at the table and showing them the research, showing them how that's affected their pipeline, how it's affected their pull through, how it's affected their close rates is a really eye-opening experience. And it's been very effective for us at not just winning new clients, but also getting referrals from them, because our approach is not just, hey, here's the band-aid. Let's make sure that we really understand what has to get solved for. So that's all part of our growth engine, and we're going to continue to be loud and proud here in the DC, Northern Virginia, and Maryland area of running these different workshops and support systems for all these great emerging companies that are now being funded in our market.
Love it. I absolutely love that. So, with that being said, there, I have one more question for you here
Yeah.
before going into the lightning round. And on this side, I would love to know where you see the B2B sales enablement industry evolving in the coming years, especially with your data-driven approach. What are you really doing to keep Lucrum partners at the forefront of that evolution?
I think one of the things that all enablement firms, so if you're an enablement specialist in your in-house, push to get yourself a seat at the table. We have to get enablement. It's the same thing that years ago we said HR was never at the executive strategy table, and the HR community worked really hard and got there. Enablement has to be there because they have to understand through the mouths of the leaders directionally where the organization is going and understand where the executives are feeling this crunch in this impact against performance. They have to hear the language of the executives. They need to be exposed to boards. They need to be on the inside of the accountability ring of driving growth. So for enablement folks that are inside, get there, right? Move and work your way up into the organization. For those that sit on the outside of organizations, support organizations, we can do better. We can do better by applying research in a more pragmatic and effective way for clients. Most of the practices, as I mentioned, that organizations are using today that they had only a year or two ago, they're stale, they're outdated, they're expired, as the commercial went. As enablement leaders, are we also contemporary? Do we have a perspective and a point of view which meets the modern marketplace, or are we playing our own old playbook? The last piece I would say, Jay, is there's been this explosion of fractional executives that organizations are hiring. If you're going to put your hand up as a fractional executive to go in and help an organization, a founder led usually with bootstrap money or early stage money, spend the time to really understand the research in the market about how buyers are changed. So when you get in there, you can be a plus one, an additive accelerant to these teams and not go in because you were successful in a role several years ago, because there's so much that has changed. So that would be the bucket of peer feedback that I think we'd share it openly.
I love it. I love it. And then last, and certainly not least here, Brian, what is the best piece of advice that you can offer to our listeners tuning in? Just heard your incredible journey and all the things that you're going to be able to accomplish with Lucrum Partners. What can you leave them with before we wrap up the show?
Be curious. So much is changing. Keep asking. Be honest when you don't know. Again, we have clients that are depending on us to be the conduit to tomorrow's revenue. And if we don't know, let's go get it. We teach sellers that, or we used to teach sellers that, to be highly curious and not get out over your skis. But as enablement professionals, it's okay to bring in other resources and other people from your network to help solve a problem, because the problems are complex. The answers aren't always clear, and be transparent with your clients.
Love it. I love it. With that right there, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. Brian, just want to thank you enough. I mean, it just incredible journey and sharing your insights with us on the show today. Truly an honor and a pleasure to have you on talking through the journey. Would love to have you back on maybe another 6 months to a year from now. Get a good update. I know there's going to be many, so would love to make that happen. And again, thank you so much. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, which I know so many of you have, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And also check out Lucrum Partners at lucrumpartners.co for their enablement solutions, and follow Brian on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/sales skills. For more resources and insights, you can visit us here at closers.io, where we are dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their growth through trained appointment setters and world-class marketing systems. Until then, keep climbing, and we will see you on the next one.